It only took 19 days, but we finally have a crime in the Trump trial. Michael Cohen, not only a liar, today we found out he's a thief. Alvin Bragg's star witness, in another gruesome day of cross-examination, confessed to larceny, admitting he stole $60,000 from his old boss. Quote, "You stole from the Trump organization, correct?" With Cohen responding with a "yes, sir," as former President Donald Trump stared on, shaking his head. Even CNN's heads were shaking.
This is a bomb. This is really important. This is a bomb dropped in the middle of the prosecution's case.
They appear to have caught Cohen in another lie.
This has given such ammunition as to possibly fatally undermine the prosecution's case.
I have to say, I'm still kind of reeling from the revelation that Michael Cohen stole money from the Trump organization.
If Jake's reeling, what do you think Bragg's doing? Trump's in a conspiracy with a guy stealing his money? Trump just became a victim. That's how the jury sees it. Michael Cohen falsified invoices to the Trump organization, stiffed contractors, pocketed the difference, and paid the contractors $20 grand in cash in a brown paper bag. MSNBC couldn't believe it.
Dealing in these sandwich bags of cash, these brown paper bags of cash, to pay people is already problematic. But the idea that he would just grab a wad of cash and stick it in his pocket, I think has moved Michael Cohen from this figure where he's part Tom Hagen from The Godfather, but really more like Fredo Corleone, to now this guy who's just a thief.
When asked why he stole from Trump, Cohen said he was angry that his bonus wasn't bigger and considered taking the money almost like self-help. Cohen saw Trump's cash as free samples, pieces of cheese with toothpicks at them in the supermarket, where he could just help himself. But MSNBC redefined the word stealing, rebalancing the bonus you think you deserve.
It sounded a lot like Michael Cohen doing the little that he could within that calculation to rebalance the bonus he thought he deserved, and it still came out as less than the bonus he thought he deserved and the bonus he'd gotten the year before.
To the producers at The Last Word, upset with the Christmas bonus Lawrence gave you? Take his wallet. Rebalance that bonus. Nothing illegal about it, except the DA calls it larceny.
The fact that he was never charged with larceny is important because stealing $60,000 through fraud, which would be larceny in New York State, is more serious of a crime than falsifying business. They gave him a free pass. He committed larceny. It's a higher degree of a felony than what Donald Trump is charged with.
The only proof of a crime that we have is a crime committed by the star witness, not the defendant. The only falsified business document we have on the record was falsified by Cohen, not Trump. This whole case rested on a phone call that never happened and Trump signing off on a false invoice that he didn't know about. Why would Trump sign off on an invoice that robbed him of 60 grand? He obviously wouldn't. Obviously, Trump didn't know the invoice he was signing was falsified. And that right there destroys the entire prosecution's case. Because they've argued Trump knew about everything he was signing, and he clearly didn't. Trump is coming out of this as the victim of a crime committed by a freewheeling attorney who only changed his story after the feds raided his office and said you have 48 hours to plead guilty or you and your wife are going to go to prison. The Trump defense team then brought in Cohen's former attorney, Bob Costello, who testified that at the height of it all, Cohen was acting suicidal, very manic, and like a drama queen, and told him this: "I swear to God, Bob, I don't have anything on Donald Trump." Costello said Cohen told him numerous times that President Trump knew nothing about those payments, that he did this on his own. He repeated that numerous times. And that has to be true because Cohen was getting squeezed by the feds, and if he had any dirt on Trump, he would have offered it to save his own hide and his wife's. But he never had any dirt. Judge Merchan was not really a big fan of Costello and accused him of rolling his eyes at him, and then said, "Are you staring me down?" The judge lost it, kicked everybody out of the courtroom just so he could talk to Costello alone. Then the judge wouldn't let Trump's attorneys call their expert witness, the former head of the Federal Elections Commission, who was supposed to testify that this $130,000 NDA wasn't a campaign finance violation. The only expert witnesses the judge allows to testify apparently are porn stars. Obviously, the judge could see the prosecution losing this case and tried to save him. Trump left the courthouse moments ago, quoting Shakespeare.
You saw what we saw, and that was an incredible display. I've never seen anything like it in my life. A tyrant. This trial is a disaster for our country. It's a disaster for New York State, New York City. Where exactly is the crime? To quote a memorable line from Shakespeare in Love, I don't know. It's a mystery. There is just no crime.
This whole case is falling apart, so let's check in to see how the Democrats are taking it.
The legalese of it, it's just macho. They listen to the judge. If sure it's gonna be serious. What the you want to Alabama Baptist coming down on you? And quit leaking stories to Poland.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.